अभी कैलेंडर एक्चुअली मैं देख रहा था ज्वाइन करने के लिए क्लासरूम, सो आई वाजंट एबल टू फाइंड एनी इनवाइट्स फॉर द नेक्स्ट वीक्स, मतलब फॉर द 17, 24, 31.
Hmm.
And just now before joining, I actually was trying to join a few minutes early, so it showed me that the invite was invalid or something like that.
I think वो timing change किया था, so I created a new calendar invite. So maybe your calendar isn't updated, so it was showing an old update or something. क्योंकि
अच्छा,
mine
एंड वो भी नहीं, अच्छा वो मतलब अभी अपडेट ही नहीं हुआ है मेरा, फिर पूरा ही आगे के वो भी नहीं दिखा रहा है एक्चुअली मुझे.
आगे के नहीं है अभी. I haven't yet set them up. It's only for
ओके.
like
अच्छा,
it's looking on the
लास्ट डे आज का है, उसके बाद अभी आगे सेट होना है.
yeah. अभी I haven't set it up. But generally I think अभी okay Kundan से but generally I
Yeah,
think
actually I was just talking to Kundan about it. I got a little scared कि ये क्या हुआ, मेरे पास तो कोई invite ही नहीं है.
नहीं invites there for everybody. It's just that the recurring invite ended coincidentally by today. So usually you set it up in 10, 10, 20 chunks.
Okay.
But yeah, anyways, I think like, but I think the issue is normally I think everybody's sort of focusing on placements and interview prep and whatnot. So usually the attendance is fairly low. So it doesn't
Yeah.
make sense to have like last time just Pranav was there. Today it's just you and Kundan. So usually I end up finishing the session in half an hour, just having immediate doubt discussions, etc., and we just close. So
Yeah, Pranav might be joining in. I was just having a chat with him right now. If he's busy, might not, but might.
got it. Cool. Yeah, I think we can just quickly dive in. Hey, Kundan there.
Yes, sir. You can
Cool.
do.
So yeah, just let me know what if you have any specific, you guys have any specific doubts, we can just have a quick doubt discussion, etc.
Yes, sir. Sir, as we have focusing on the interviews, so some questions actually I got that it's really um, actually the interviewer was very experienced, but still they are asking the questions, some question like that I didn't actually heard about that previously. So I thought that I should ask here. So the question is asked to me is very basic, like what is the structure of our instructor
What
in
is that?
the Unity? What is the structure of our hierarchy view in Unity?
What is the
So
structure of hierarchy view?
yeah,
I didn't understand the question at all. What do you
yeah,
mean by
same
structure?
same same thing. I said that what you mean by the structure, but he is actually asking the same thing again and again, and I don't know what is the mean of there, but after some time, I actually ended up to asking what is the answer of that. Then he just said that the tree structure. I mean, is this the right way of asking the question that what is the structure of hierarchy? If they wanted to, I mean, ask the what is the data structure of our hierarchy system, I mean, the parent-child
Yeah,
relationship, then maybe the I could get the
correct.
right way of what
Yeah,
is
I
the
mean, see, the thing is like there is one. It's one thing asking a slightly complicated question, but it's another thing when the question itself is not clear and somebody is asking you to explain the question or elaborate the question, and somebody says, "No, I'm not going to do it." You
yeah.
know, that's just stupid, right? So
I asked actually I frustrated on some time like I asked 2 3 times that what do you mean by the structure and he is I mean saying the same thing again and again.
So,
So
like, I mean,
I
if you didn't give me the answer, my next thought would have been basically, are you asking about how the structure is laid out in the UI, or are you asking because if the other person is not giving you any information, right, you have to make
Mhm.
some calculated guesses, right? At least he'll tell you yes or no on something, right?
Mhm.
So the best way is to just make some calculated guesses and say, Ki, are you specifically asking me the structure specifically for like how the UI, like think of like editor scripts we have talked about, right? Like how the editor scripts are structured to create that UI, or
Mhm.
what was it? Project view, hierarchy view, inspector view. What do
Yeah,
which
hierarchy view.
Hierarchy.
hierarchy?
Hierarchy view.
Okay. So when you're talking about hierarchy, there is a folder structure that you're talking about, right?
Yeah,
So
folder structure in the project view and
correct,
parent-child relationship in the routing.
correct. So now you know that there has to be some kind of a tree structure under it, because obviously you're talking about nodes, right? Like either it's
Yeah.
folders or it's game objects, could be anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then you're talking about a node-like structure, or sorry, a tree-like structure, right? So one way to think about it is the structure of uh, the view itself, like what are the classes needed for that structure, how which class is connected to what class, and which is a parent or child or whatever, right? And then the other thing is just the structure of the contents, right?
Mm.
Whatever is inside that you see as per the project, right? So I would have probably gone deeper into just asking more questions around it. Yeah, do you mean this or do you mean this? Because the question is not very clear to me directly. So if
Mm-hmm.
you can elaborate, great. If the other person is still adamant and says, no, I just give me an answer, right? So then my answer would be, okay, if I'm talking about the structure, I'll give both the answers then, right? Like, okay, if one suggestion is, or rather one thought is, you're asking about the structure of the UI, then probably UI has these classes, and it has a layering of this. There's going to be a main class that has the entire view, and then there's going to be one class that holds all the buttons at the top, another class that holds whatever is the actual framework, right? You split it into smaller controllers in some sense. Think about that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you just like, okay, if that is what you are asking, then probably something in this direction. And otherwise, if you really meant the structure of the contents, then I would go and say that it's probably structured like nodes have childs, and it's more like a tree kind of a structure where it's a parent child relationship and something like that. So I don't know exactly what you mean, but if my guess is like it has to be somewhere within these two. So yeah.
Yeah.
So
He's basically saying that I could not understand. He's saying about me that I could not understand because I don't know the terminology of Unity. Because Unity terminology is like this. I mean, they are that's why they are asking the question like this. And actually did not understand that where they actually learn about this terminology. I did not understand.
anyways, uh,
And he is saying that he has experience. He is working since 2005 when Unity releases the Unity
which
first
company?
Unity version.
Which company?
It's a some startup in the I guess in the Toronto, and they are actually Indians, but they are started in the Toronto.
Got it. Hmm. Sure. I mean, yeah, can't do much about it, right? So it's fine. You can always
And
try to take a best shot at it, which you did. That's okay. Uh, Live and learn. So yeah,
yeah.
cool. Okay.
Uh, so also I have checked one thing. They have asked me another question like lighting about the bake lighting.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever we bake light in the Unity, they how this work basically. So I actually said about that this is basically calculated all the lighting information and save in the memory the
Mm-hmm.
lighting data. And this was actually I did not remember on that time exactly what is their extension file name that Unity stores all the lighting data. So
Mm-hmm.
I checked after some time after the interview, and it is the s.asset file. But
Mm-hmm.
he is actually saying that it stores in the texture form, but
Yeah.
it's not, I guess.
No, so actually it is stored in texture format actually, right? Like so there are different types of ways to bake lighting, right? And
Hmm.
I'm actually not at all uh, strong in this direction because because this kind of falls a lot in towards the technical art domain.
Yeah.
I don't know somebody. Oh, Pranav, yeah. Last time Pranav was asking about technical art. He had applied for some technical art position, so which was actually not technical art. It was more like art plus tech, which is different than technical art. But this is exactly technical art, right? So if you
Hmm.
bake lightings into a light map or something, how would that get stored, right? Into a normal map or whatever, right? So all those uh, pieces, if I remember correctly, they're actually getting stored in a texture itself, because UV map
Yeah.
they
Yeah,
are
UV map again. everything is a texture map, and I have also seen that. But exactly the lighting information, the lighting data, which
Hmm.
is you can see in the lighting tab,
Hmm.
there is a there is a link of lighting in data from there, and we can directly
Hmm.
jump into the data,
Hmm.
that data in the folder.
Hmm.
And when I open that folder, that extension name is showing that dot asset.
Dot assets. Okay.
Yeah.
What was the exact question?
The question was the what is the like when we bake the lighting, then how it stored in Unity? How Unity is stored basically.
Got it. Yeah, I mean it has to be one of the two formats, right? Ultimately, it's storing everything in some form of a file, right? Like, at the end of the day, everything is a file, right? The only thing is
Mm.
whether it's a dot asset file or whether it's a specific dot texture file, right? So you always have those examples of UV maps, etc., getting stored in textures, and then they get reused across different assets or same assets getting duplicated. So you get those same advantages that you get from atlases, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
but this one I'm also not sure of. If you're saying that you have checked, it might be assets, but my immediate thought when you asked the question went towards UV maps as well. So that's why I was thinking of textures as well. So uh, I don't know because I think Unity changed few things when they introduced this
What is it?
new render pipelines, right?
Yeah,
Um,
URP and HDRP.
URP, HDRP, and all, right? So lightweight and high def render pipelines. So I think they have changed some of the structure, but I'm not 100% actually sure on this because since they
Yeah,
have
I have changed checked actually very recently in the 19 and 20.
okay, and it's basically an asset file, basically.
Yeah, yeah.
Got it. Because I think for the um, um,
Old
uh,
version maybe it could
maybe old version and this one the render thing that we are just talking about, right? The lightweight
be.
render and the configuration uh, that you try to create, I think that one is a scriptable object, right? If I
Uh,
remember correctly. So it creates a scriptable object for the configuration in terms of a HD render pipeline or a lightweight render pipeline,
yes,
etc., right?
yes, yes.
I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
those are just the configurations, right? Like you can change the numbers,
Mm.
etc., on it, and you can
Yeah.
change the properties on it. But eventually, you can have two different variants of HD as well. You can have multiple variants of lightweight as well if you're targeting like different devices, etc., right? So,
Yeah.
so internally, it actually creates scriptable objects. So that I remembered because I referenced it in one of the projects that I was reviewing. But this one I was not 100% sure of, the light one.
Hmm.
So this was
Great.
also the same company or different one?
Yeah, yeah, same company. I mean, they asked me every question like in very another terminology, and I actually asked in every question, "What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that?" And I thought that what a question, what type of question is this?
Got it. Are they working on mobile games or some industrial application?
Uh, yeah, they actually just said that they have some projects about the AR VR and not the gaming industry. But I
Got it.
actually asked more about detail like what in this like AR/VR has a different application in
Yeah.
different industry,
Most
but they
likely
actually
simulation or
not
like
able.
industrial training. Those are usually the more common use cases. Majority of the companies are working in that space because that's where the business
Mm-hmm.
is. So, so if they're in AR, VR, it's probably gonna be in the industrial simulation or training space. Basically, building training for like firefighters and stuff like that, right? Like these are uh, where actually training in the real world is difficult. So VR and AR, well, not AR actually, but VR is usually a better solution for that. And then you have AR is predominantly like marketing. A lot of marketing use cases are being used for AR type cases. But now you're seeing like AR getting embedded into maps, giving you like the road directions and whatnot, right? So instead of looking at the map, you point the camera and it just shows you all the directions as AR in AR format. So those things are like also are sort of newer use cases of where AR and VR are kind of getting used.
Mm.
Cool. Abhishek, Chinmay, any other questions?
Yeah,
Mm,
actually, I have one. You sent a link to a website today
mm,
about
yeah.
getting placements or something like that
Mm,
abroad or
yeah.
working from home basically for those companies.
Right.
So, and you also said that these companies will have a higher bar, higher bar
Yeah.
of uh, co- basically programming quality.
Mm-hmm.
So,
So make
what
sure they will check your GitHub.
not
They
just
will.
that, actually, I was just asking that what bar are we talking about? Which bar?
Portfolio,
Once we graduate,
project portfolio.
no. What I mean is that once we graduate from this course,
Mhm.
मतलब हमने कहाँ तक अपना बार अचीव कर लिया कि कितना और रहता है, क्या क्या करने की ज़रूरत है and all that.
So it depends on which company, what their expectations are, right? But at the very minimum, I would say you should have at least, like all these projects that we have built so far should already be like polished and available in the
Playable
best
basically.
condition, yeah, best condition possible, right? And then have at least one more project that is of your own creativity, right? Because if say 10 people from outside went and applied, right, they'll look at that, okay, everybody has similar kind of projects, right? And they'll understand that it's like
They'll nullify those projects
it won't
basically in those
nullify.
in those specific applicants.
No, but it's not just that, right? Like, see, doing projects is never going to be a negation wala effect, right? But the thing is that what will separate is who can go above and beyond, right?
Okay, yeah.
So it's not that two people have similar projects. That means it nullifies. It's more about okay, this person has one extra project that shows me that this person has
Mhm.
done something of their own. So they're self-starter. They're able to push themselves further. They're generally more creative. They're passionate about this domain, things like that, right? So it indicates a lot more other things beyond just that. Okay, as part of the curriculum, as part of some program, as part of something, I did this, right? Which is
Mhm.
great. Once you enroll in a program, you're expected to deliver on whatever is asked as part of that program, right? Be it your
Mhm.
bachelor's degree, be it whatever program. But can you go beyond, right? That's what separates anyone from the rest of the crowd, right? So,
So,
so that's the important part.
what sort of projects do they look for? Is it a 3D project, a 2D project, a
Doesn't
simple?
matter. Doesn't matter.
Doesn't
Doesn't
matter.
matter. Doesn't matter.
Okay,
So,
just needs to be a project that I
so
need to have a.
typically people will evaluate based on two different axes, right? Either they'll look for creativity or they'll look for technical depth, right?
Okay.
So over the last 5 6 months since you guys have been interacting with me, I've told about numerous examples of like GDC Vault videos and some tech talks on GDC, really fucking fancy shit, right? Um, uh, I think we were even discussing about the Play Dead game once, how they break up their scenes into different layers, and I don't remember if you guys remember or not, but I remember we were discussing about this once. So like that has nothing to do with creativity, right? At least creativity from a gameplay perspective. It is just a system that has been designed to optimize for performance and efficiency of building the game and packaging it so that the system can achieve 60 frames per second no matter what uh, no matter what the
System is running.
system is working on, right? So either you are able to showcase some technical excellence, or you're able to showcase some creativity. Some are going to be really high in the bar where they'll want both, but usually at a more sort of a junior programmer or just a software developer position kind of profile, right? One of the two axes should be good enough. And having obviously creative projects where you're prototyping fun new mechanics shows that you're creative and passionate about building games. The other one shows your depth of knowledge in terms of technical capabilities, right? So we discussed about dependency injection last time. Um, last time or last to last time, I don't remember. Whenever we did discuss, right? So having some fancy simplistic application around dependency injection would be one, a week long project that you can build, right? Literally, it's not going to take you more than a week. If you really sit together and build it and devote 2 hours every day, you'll be able to get something rolling in less than 15 hours, right? So less than a week. So obviously, if you give more time, you'll be able to build even something more complex. But that's the point, that you can showcase variety on these axes, and that's what's going to be key to, it's not really about 2D aspects or 3D specifically. Some will evaluate those specifically if they're working on a specific type of game, but or a type of project. But usually when you are entering the industry, you want to be more generalist in nature, right? So you specify a horizontal breadth of topics and you can fit into any company easily, right? Relatively easily, right? So having that breadth is more important rather than just saying, oh, I'm a 2D specialist or I'm a 3D specialist, something like that. Yeah, on that same lines, even if you think about any VR company hiring, right, they'll hardly look for anybody building VR applications unless it's a senior architect or any of that positions, right? Then they definitely need somebody with VR experience, but more or less, even then also, they won't care too much, partly because the devices are so fucking expensive. They can't expect somebody to have devices sitting around at $1,000, right? So, and building their own projects. Majority of these shit is owned by companies only. So, and your company is not going to lend you the device to make your own project so that you can apply to next companies, right? So, so from that perspective, usually people don't hold that as a grudge. Hey, I'm working on Xbox. You haven't built any Xbox games at an entry level position. I'm not going to hire you. It doesn't work that way. Usually, but does work for senior roles when they're looking for people with 5, 6, 7+ years experience. Then they'll say, okay, you should have at least published one Xbox or one console quality game with C++ experience, minimum 4+ years, shit like that. Usually, it only comes in when you're at 5+ years kind of experience, but not before.
Hmm.
Yeah.
One other thing was that I was actually going through the website myself. So, and I was actually also looking in AngelList as well about these companies and all.
Mm-hmm.
So, I am not very certain about the roles that the companies offer. Well, what sort of work does that entail? A gameplay programmer, what does he do? A graphics programmer, what does he do? They all look very similar to me and at the same time very different to me. So I'm not very sure what those titles mean. Just
Got
like
it.
you said, a technical artist is very different from art plus tech.
Got it. One sec. Mm. Have I shared this before?
I don't think so.
Okay, so check out this channel. There are a couple of really popular videos, and so one of them is about, so you want to be a game developer, so you want to be a game programmer, so you want to be a game artist, etc. So it just talks about generally what these roles usually mean. It doesn't go into completely the same amount of depth that you asked, regarding, say, technical art versus graphics versus, uh, what else? What else did you ask? So technical graphics.
And there are numerous ways that we there are numerous titles out there, but Unity
There always
programmer,
will be.
Unity game developer, technical director. So
Actually, I think that also there is
Yeah.
some title is similar, but as you suggest that some title is very different. Also, I have seen some title is very new. I think, and it's not common in all the company.
yeah,
I mean, it's the same thing, right? Somebody says SD1, SD2, somebody says senior developer or junior developer or just developer, right? SD1, SD2, SD3, SD4, right? So everybody has their own nomenclature of defining things, but generally, gameplay programmer means just a generalist programmer. Somebody who's going to focus on building the game, the core mechanics of the game, the UI of the game, the pieces that majority of the players are going to be interacting with, right? So that's your gameplay programmer, generalist programmer.
so
You'll have
basically
specific
the
companies
front
asking
end
for
wala part, right?
completely front end, correct?
Yeah.
So uh, there is going to be more graphics programming, which will focus more on your graphics rendering stuff, especially if you have your own custom engine that you're working with, or if you're an enterprise partner with Unity or Unreal, you would probably have access to the engine code itself. So if you want to, based on your pipeline, you want to change how the graphics underlying behave to make your game better for performance. Um, you know, Usually these are enterprise level clients that have access to the engine code itself, and they can tweak the engine code for their own games. So if you look at um, the project that I was just telling you about, what was the name of the game? What was the name of the game that I just mentioned?
No, you didn't mention each other
Playdead.
name. Oh, acha, yeah.
That's the name of the company, right? But basically, like in that talk, they had mentioned, so how, like, so in this case, if you check out this video, this will talk a lot more about the graphics details, right? So these are usually a lot more of uh, graphics heavy work, which goes into optimizing the pipeline, how the data is stored for the game itself, how it is fed into the graphics card, right? So what kind of pipeline you're using to preload some of this data? Are you baking the data in some sense in a different way so that it gets loaded faster, scene by scene or block by block, things like that, right? So those, what I just mentioned in the last two sentences is more towards like technical art, which is a mix of writing shaders, um, uh, hybrid of basically using tech or coding to sort of think about generating art, right? So that's kind of technical art. Um, your gameplay art is your gameplay programming is what I mentioned earlier. Then you have your graphics, which goes even one layer lower at the not the CPU, the GPU level, right? So that's more about graphics and how the engine processes and renders the frames and buffer memory and all that shit, right? So that's your uh, render
Graphics side.
programmer or graphics programmer. Usually those are two common terms, right? You'll see even terms like rendering programmers or C++ engine rendering programmers. Those are usually also the terms. Um, then what else?
Sir, I was saying that graphics programming is itself, it's a very wide. I mean, there's uh, what we call the graphics programming, right? Where if if we wanted to write some shader, I think some guy I have seen in my previous company, they actually creating they were creating shader, and they uses the um, graphics GC programming. I'm not sure. I don't know what exactly
GC
they.
programming?
Yeah, GC language graphics. I'm not sure exactly full form of that language, but they have actually. I just wanted to mean that they have their own itself a very wide range of area, wide range of this as the gameplay programming is.
Sorry, your voice broke. It's a what?
As the gameplay programming is a very wide area and wide role, that same type of, I think that when if we wanted to work on the rendering side, OpenGL developer or DirectX developer, then itself is a very huge kind of role.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Especially if you um, want to go deep into engine side itself, right? Uh,
Mhm.
Majority game companies, startup mid-sized companies would not hire graphics programmers because they don't have that need. So either you will be working with companies like Unity itself or Unreal itself that are building some kind of an engine, or companies that have their own engine. So now you have your EA and a bunch of studios under EA that use their own Frostbite engine, and Bethesda, and everybody that uses their own engine, they'll have dedicated graphics programmers as well. So majority of the graphics guys would be focusing on the engine layer rather than the specific game layer, right? There will obviously be an intersection where the game is interacting with the graphics pipeline, right? So if you think about it, somebody who, like, when you build anything in the lightweight render pipeline or the, any of these newer render pipelines, you're basically telling the graphics to work in a certain way, right? So whatever is the underlying module, so you're doing that in C Sharp, or whatever is the underlying module on the C++ side, that is directly correlating with the graphics part of the engine, right? That is directly modifying the graphics library. So whoever wrote that side, they're essentially like a graphics programmer, if you think about it, right? Because that's directly impacting how the game gets rendered, how the game gets processed frame by frame, right? Like how is it treating different assets and treating different textures? Are they in HD versus low def, etc. as well, right? So sort of an abstract way to think about it. But then you have this uh, graphics pipe, like system dot something graphics class as well, right? So because this is part of the standard MSDN package, you can check that out as well. You can actually create your own graphics as well. But ideally, this would go more towards the C++ direction, where you're
Yes, sir.
directly dealing with, underlying OpenGL kind of instruction set.
Yeah. So one more thing, sir, I would like to ask. If we create our assignment, no matter
We create our
how
what?
we assignment, the assignment company asks to create
Uh,
some small game or some prototype maybe. So no matter how much we give effort on that assignment, sometimes it's like a company uh, did not share any of their feedback, and just they deny. I mean, they get negative feedback on that. So I have shared one link. I have my GitHub link. Recently, I have created a Minesweeper game, and I'm not sure what I have done the wrong, because game is working very fine, and according to me, I think I have done good. But if you can look a look, I mean, if you can go through a little bit,
so what
and
was
I
the
think that you
objective
can
of this
find.
assignment? What
Yeah,
was the objective?
I mean, objective of game is like
No,
create
I'm
a.
not. I didn't ask the objective of the game. I asked the objective of the assignment specifically, because the objective can be different, right? Objective of the game is to make a Minesweeper game, but
Yeah.
they might be. So when I specifically ask objective of the assignment, it
Mhm.
basically refers to what were they looking to evaluate you on, right?
Yeah.
So
Yes.
understanding that is important.
Yeah, and I understood, and we have discussed already in this section a little bit before already. So I understood that they wanted to see some good practice. I mean, programming good practice, and maybe some quality of code. So, but still, I'm not sure. I have given my best. I mean, whatever I learned here and also till now,
Do you
and
have the
but
coding
still,
assignment?
yeah, this is the coding assignment.
No, no. The actual, like a PDF or something. They might
Okay,
have
okay.
sent
So
some
yeah,
question written or something. Can you just take like a screenshot of the relevant piece and just share that as like
yeah.
an image or something here, so that I can check
Yeah,
out what
sure,
exactly those questions?
sure. Let me
Yeah.
share.
Meanwhile, anybody else has anything while we look into this?
Yes, sir. I have a question on this.
Mhm.
Like suppose companies are approaching us, they given some test to solve it, like some type of code optimization, or some companies also ask us to make a game. Reliance Games contacted me and a few more students from our batch, and they asked us to make a game like Subway Surfer, and we submitted that game after completing it. So can we mention those games in our resume because
Um,
we have completed it?
yeah. So I think, okay. So here's how you want to think about this. I'll always encourage you to put it up on GitHub. Okay. absolutely add it to your profile. But imagine, so you build two decent sized projects as part of the entire program, right? Which were Unity focused at least. And then let's say if you end up doing 10 game assignments over the course of how many companies you apply with, how many interview with, etc., right? You end up building 10 more projects that are assignments, right? Would you end up adding all the 10 and now have 12 specific projects listed on your resume? Or how would you go about shortlisting which ones to add?
The best one.
Correct. So now you basically still want to highlight the most sort of either the technically challenging or the creative ones or something where you have done something really genius. Because at the end of the day, resume is the one thing where they'll open up and ask you questions on it, right? So the goal is to present the projects which showcase the best aspects about you, the things that you can most confidently talk about, right? So if you think that this project has some of that qualities, then absolutely add it. But do make sure that either on your GitHub or in your resume, nothing publicly links this project to the company that gave you that assignment. Okay, there should be no correlation. Like it shouldn't be that in this assignment, if I look at the README file, it shouldn't be that the README file tells me that, oh, this was done as part of the assignment given by so and so company, because you're anyways putting this publicly, which means now you have told the entire world that this XYZ company asks for this thing, and then they might object and ask you to remove it or something, right? So even if you are putting up the project publicly, you can put it up publicly because at the end of the day you've worked on it, but just make sure there is no reference to that, oh, you did this as part of XYZ company's admission test or interview examination or whatever, right? So just don't have that mention anywhere. Just say that this was a project that I worked on, then it's fine. Okay, so what is this target ratio? I got it. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Why is this not a singleton?
No, sir. This is not singleton.
Any specific reason? Because then you'll have to drag and drop this, right?
Yeah.
What is this game service, sir?
It's gonna be some service, but we'll come to it. I have it open somewhere here. But yeah. Anyways, so it's probably managing some gameplay logic, etc., right? Or game state transition or something like that. Right?
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
Oh, it's in blue color, so it's a type that Unity gives.
Yeah, because it's a class, right?
Yeah, class we have created, so
yeah.
That's why.
Yeah. So here you have game service. Okay, so what did you put in the chat? Acha, you put in the chat with the
exact assignment. Yeah.
To make a Minesweeper game, you can play the game here. No need for any difficulty settings. No need for timer. You can use very basic assets from Google. Looks are not a so yeah. Okay, so this is clear, right? Like looks is not priority. That means code is obviously, right?
Yeah.
So they don't care about evaluating your beautification aspect. So no need to make it pretty.
Yeah, most of the company.
Minefield. One sec. So the number of the rows, the columns of the minefield should be customizable inside the editor. Make an auto solver to solve the entire minefield, and the solving should be shown to the user step by step and not entirely at once. The solver can be aware of the minefield and doesn't have to be an AI. Got it. Okay. Okay. So did you implement all the pieces?
The auto solver things I did not understand exactly what they mean, because when I play the link on the Google Minesweeper, they exactly not have that feature, auto solving feature. So I thought that auto solving feature is the same. When we click, then it's a gameplay thing. When if you play the gameplay, then if you click on the wrong side, it will open up and hint you something. that this
That's
side
not
is wrong or right side.
That's not autosolver.
Yeah, that's not autosolver, but actually I thought that the same. But when I sent this to company, they HR actually said that one of the part is not implemented yet.
That's
So I actually
not.
no, that's not the, I mean, the negative feedback is not the belong for the same. Sorry. So actually they said that whatever I sent the code, so they are looking into that and they decide from that code quality.
They decided what?
They decide from that code quality whatever I sent to them. I mean, one of the piece.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they'll divide from. That's obvious, right? Like, how will they decide from something that you don't send?
Yeah,
Right?
I mean,
Right. So okay. Let me be clear here. So, did you implement the autosolver or not? Yes or no?
no,
There's no
no,
other
no.
choice, right? So that means that the assignment was incomplete, right? So you know
Mhm.
that irrespective of how beautiful the previous code might be, partially because it's incomplete, there is always a chance of auto rejection, right? So that's naturally gonna happen. Few things here that stand out. Not sure what exactly. There are so many function calls here.
It's a DFS, depth first search, I implemented on the uh, collect the neighbor cells.
Got it. Okay. Uh, so this is game service, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So what was not clear in the autosolver here? Because when I read that statement, I immediately understand it. But before I give the answer, what was not clear in the autosolver when you read this statement? Because I'm guessing this is the entire assignment, right? Like this part that you have pasted in
Mhm.
the chat.
Mhm.
So
So
what part about autosolver was not clear?
autosolver is completely because I played the first time this game, and I actually thought that autosolver is something kind of hint. It is, I mean, I did not figure out that how it could be implemented, and that's why I could not implement in my project.
But do you know? Did you understand now what exactly it means?
Yeah. Once I discussed with HR, and I actually said that if this is the reason for the rejection, then I wanted to know what could be the my feedback for my current code. So
Mm-hmm.
they are actually not sent me the exact feedback till now, but they actually showed that they will send in some time.
Assume they won't. But anyways, so what do you now know about the autosolver piece?
Autosolver is I searched in Google in more depth, and basically it means that we have to create a program which will basically find out all the mines in our minesweeper, and actually open all the cells. This I understood till now.
Hmm. Got it. So
Basically, complete the game on its own, right?
it's basically like, hey, I press a button that tells me, all right, show me how to play this entire level, right? Or this current version, just play and just play. I just want to watch it play. So the computer is playing behind, like instead of me. That's it.
Yeah, but they actually want that step by step. So
Yeah. So
this
the computer is playing like a human, step by step, just that it knows the answer,
okay.
right? Because
Yeah.
you're generating a map. You're keeping the
Hmm.
data of the map hidden, right?
Hmm.
But that data
Hmm.
is stored in the memory,
Right.
correct? Player doesn't know. That's why the player makes random choices, and they sometimes get it correct, sometimes they don't, right?
Yeah.
But
Right.
another class can make that same set of choices knowing this data
Yeah.
and just go sequentially, right? Either start from the top left corner, start from the bottom left corner, just go sequentially and keep hitting the places that you need, the simplistic
Yeah.
version.
Yeah. It can be implemented easily. Yeah.
And you still
Yeah.
do exactly the same flow. So now do you know how to implement
Hmm.
it?
Yeah. I understood. But
So
still,
so
I
when was
wanted to know
this?
in this.
No,
Yeah,
so
please go
so
ahead.
when was this assignment due? Like when did you
Uh,
submit it basically?
it's submitted, I think, 4 or 5 days ago.
Okay. So when did you figure out what autosolver was?
Uh, 2 or 3 days ago.
Okay. So here's what I would have done if I was in your place. First, you figured it out yourself, right? After even Googling. Why didn't you figure it out before the submission?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you said I just Googled deeper, right? Or researched a
Okay.
little bit more. So then why didn't you try to do it before the submission itself? How much time did they give to submit this project?
Uh, uh, 48 hours.
Okay. So timeline was a little bit strict, but not that hard. Um,
For me, sir, I have to first learn this game, and then I have to create these games. For me, sir, it's timeline very strict. So,
it's okay. Minesweeper takes you 30 minutes to learn. it's it's not freaking chess or Go that will take you 30 years to master. It's Minesweeper. You click left or right. That's it. Uh, but like it's fairly simple. But that's again yeah. That's like um, you can't have that reason out in the real world, right? Like real world is not gonna uh, absorb that reason, especially from an experienced developer, right? So the bar for you specifically is much higher compared to anybody else, right? Because you come in with a bunch of experience before. So that's where you need to push yourself higher to meet that bar. Usually, the way companies look at it, right? If somebody at the entry level would have done that, they might have said, "Okay, you implement it." But my suggestion here was that even if you figure it out the next day, right, it would have taken you probably 4 hours to implement it if your initial code was correctly implemented. Probably 3 to 4 hours, right? You should have
yeah,
implemented it, send them update again. Hey guys, you rejected
yeah.
me. I know you've given me a incomplete thing, but I got my doubt resolved, and here's my attempt at it. Take a look. Don't take a look. I don't care because it's anyways on my portfolio. So even if
Hmm.
you don't look at it, I have this auto solver feature as a talking feature, talking point for my next interviews. Thank you very much. Let them come back if they want, right? So don't care about whether they need it or now not, but because it's a new technical thing for you to implement and you learn something out of it, you still go ahead and implement it, right? Because
Hmm.
anyways
Yeah, sir.
you want this project to be on your portfolio, right?
Repo.
Because it's going up
Yeah.
on your GitHub. It can potentially even go up on your one of your future interviewers might bring this up. You, who knows? If I was interviewing
Hmm.
you sometime, I usually have a very habit of going deep into old projects and talking about old projects as well, dead projects or small projects, and see how much this person actually remembers, or did they
Hmm.
just shapeify it from something else online, right? just to fill up the list. So if you've done it yourself, you'll remember everything, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Don't expect them to give you any feedback. Nobody does. Whether you pass or fail, you must pass or fail. That's it. That's why I focus so much on this program about feedback, because in the real life, barely you'll ever get feedback. You'll be very lucky if somebody ever gives you feedback.
Yes, sir.
Nobody has time.
No, nobody share their exact feedback.
Nobody
What
does.
is the feedback?
Nobody does. Expect nobody does. Be lucky if somebody does, and thank them really well. Because usually nobody has time in life.
Sir,
Okay, I think overall looks good. I think there are a few minor things here and there that I can see improvements could be done, because right now the script is getting too much bloated, right? Already 250 lines. It has game over shit. It has game winning shit. So there's just too much stuff that the script is doing. A lot of the tile manipulation logic could have been inside a separate controller itself, which is a non-mono behavior, things like that. So I think apart from refactoring a bunch of stuff here, that would have been my base flow, because now it's like, what is this really? It will take me like 10 minutes just to understand this 5 lines of code. even though you've created some small functions, but still it has enough decent complexity to understand what is happening. What is this X and Y? Why is it starting from something here? Like so there's just like the cleanliness can be taken up one step above, but that's not a reason for rejection. At least not in my book. So that won't be the issue. Um, in your case, I mean, the clear thing was obviously it was the missing feature. That's it. I think if you had done the missing feature, you would have gotten a call for the interview. Is covered sprite. Okay. Yeah. I think this looks good. You could have created more files like this, right? Small, to the point. Same for managing a lot of this logic. Right? So, what is this? Active minds are like game objects and all, right?
Yeah.
List of tiles, object parent. This shit actually looks really bad. This things generally you want to try and avoid. Yeah. So game over stuff. Okay. Um, game win screen. What is this object?
Basically, whatever I instantiated on the board, it will hold all the objects.
Okay, so name it something like board parent or something, right? Just to be clear, object parent seems a very miscellaneous object what. Everything is object in life. So,
yeah,
cool.
Something could be more accurate.
Yeah, and here also you dragged and drop user input game service. So making game service as a singleton would have been easier because now you're dragging from here and here.
One thing I wanted to mention here, as you suggest that singleton, I have actually implemented singleton in one of my very previous assignment, like 2 months, 3 months ago. But actually, the interviewer was very unhappy when they said seen the in singleton approach, because they actually said that they always avoid the singleton approach because singleton is not safe to use, and also it becomes very problem when we wanted to scale our project.
Correct.
So they actually hate the singleton approach.
Absolutely, you should hate it as well. Right? But the thing is, you need to know why to hate it. Right? And we've talked about it already, right? Like all the problems that it causes, especially when we were talking about even dependency injections. So the thing is that because you implement singleton in that interview, if you would have expressed equal amount of hatred for singleton, you know, the most obvious answer there is, hey, this is a small project, and in a realistic project, this is not how I would do it because of so and so reasons. These are 4 the reasons that I know singletons are absolutely shit. But if this was a real life Minesweeper game, I would not use singleton. I would instead do something else, such as service locator or dependency injection, right? I would use something like that. So now I just wanted to demonstrate this, but I'm well aware of the problems that singleton face. Now you're basically just showing off your knowledge. That's it. That I know singletons are bad. I've used it. I know how to use them. I know how to not use them. I know when to use them, when not to use them. Right. So on small projects, singletons can be really quick and really handy just to avoid a lot of this drag and drop behavior. Right. That can break games. But on bigger projects, you don't want singletons because of the rigidity that they add and step being static, they can't be tested, they can't be unit tested. So, you know, the best aspect is that you can, if you can express your hatred for singleton in an interview, 99% you'll get selected, right? Because majority people don't understand that, right? Majority people just know how to create a static thing called instance because every fucking YouTuber uses that inside their tutorials, right? And they never understand what this means actually. So knowing the negative aspects actually puts you one league above just by that.
So yes, sir. From that interview, actually, I learned that because most of our interview for the programming interview, they want our code to scalable. So that's why I thought that if I show my knowledge for this project, And if they understood like if they judge like if this project is not scalable, then maybe they should give some negative feedback.
It's not that, right? So typically, at least what I used to do was, when I'm submitting my solution, right, I'll always submit, whether they ask or not, some points regarding how would I improve this project,
Okay, yeah.
right? So currently I've, this was a small project, so I have made these assumptions and I've implemented, because every time we have discussed, a solution is only good once you know the assumptions, right?
Mm.
We have discussed this all the time, that a solution for a specific data structure problem or Unity problem is only good when you know certain specific assumptions that you have made about the problem statement. If those assumptions change, the answer completely changes, right? So here you can assume that, okay, I'm working on a small test assignment, which is a small project. But if this was a full-fledged project or an MMORPG or a full-fledged this, my choices for, say, some specific design pattern, or my choices for certain aspects, is going to be different. So in Minesweeper, if you would have used a singleton, then you would have said that if I was building this as a production quality Minesweeper game where we were supposed to launch it on Xbox or some shit, then I would not use the singleton, because singleton is so bad.
Mm.
Right? Just in one paragraph, you can give that as a written answer, right, while submitting your code.
Okay.
Right? So that way you showcase both the aspects, that you know how to use it and you know what to use, when not to use as well.
Yes. So
Right?
a statement of some points would be better with submitting with this assignment.
Yeah, usually basically you just want to title it like future improvements. That's it.
Oh, sure,
Right? So if this was a
sure.
quick prototype, then you want to make something really quick to test out the gameplay. If the focus is on testing quality, like in this Minesweeper case, they said clearly we want to test out code quality, right? Out UI and all doesn't matter. So
Mm-hmm.
clearly that was the main focus, and not using singleton was totally fine, right?
Mm.
Because the focus was quality.
Code quality.
So yeah. But you can add more things like, hey, I'm going to use dependency injection if this is a really complex project, or blah blah blah. But just be prepared to back it up, that you know what those things are that you're suggesting to use.
Sure, sure.
Yeah, cool.
Sure. Thanks for suggestion.
Mhm. Anything else? Abhishek, Chinmay, you guys have been silent. More silence.
No,
Huh?
just working on the multiplayer one.
Working on the multiplayer. Abhishek, you're also working on the multiplayer?
Yeah, sir. But
Okay.
that game is given by the company.
The game is given by the company?
A
What do you
Pong
mean?
game. I'm working on a Pong multiplayer game.
Acha, acha. Okay, the screenshot that you had shared, the video.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. You're using Node.js, right?
Right.
Okay, cool. When is it due? When is the submission?
Well, they have given me 15 days.
For a Pong game?
Ah, yes.
Finish it, like,
Wow,
just sit
awesome.
and finish it in 2-3 days. It's like, don't waste 15 days on a Pong game.
So it's almost completed. I have to.
Okay, cool.
The few things are left. Like
Hmm.
I have to spawn the second player from in right side, and first player in the left side, and after that I will do these make this core system, and then the game will finish.
Got
So
it. Got it.
1 week, I took 1 week to understand the Node.js and socket, how it
Mm-hmm.
could be done, and by watching some tutorials and also your
Mm-hmm.
videos. So it took me a few days, 2 or 3 days.
That's still good. 2-3 days is still good, actually. I think somebody had some question today that didn't get answered. Vasudev. Okay, Vasudev is not here. Some animation question.
I asked with Shubham
Yeah, in Unity
about the
Basics.
multiplayer.
In Unity Basics, right?
Yeah, I was actually looking into that. Uh, I found out that it might have something to do with the forces. I had a talk with Shubham as well about that.
Okay, but uh,
Actually, I was not sure about the solution and didn't have the whole code. So
that's okay. Just ask for more code.
yeah,
Just basically, yeah, because right now I think he might be waiting Vasudev. So just respond in that channel with whatever it is, right? So he can share more code or
yeah.
record a video or
Actually,
something.
what I was thinking was that I could DM him myself and could set up a screen share or something like that and could solve the doubt on the screen share.
Got it, got it. No, but just take it in the channel, right? Forget DMs. Anyways, let the other community also take part, right? It's not
Okay.
if anybody else spots the spots the issue, let them jump in and answer. What's the issue? Uh,
Okay.
so yeah, just keep like all the learnings. Like you can obviously have private conversation, one-on-one conversations in DMs, but keep all the learnings in the channels because that others also are able to add value to whatever the conversation might be. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I'm finding that to be very beneficial for me as well because finding out what kind of stuff is bothering other people makes me think that this stuff मतलब ये मेरे को दिक्कत पहले कभी नहीं दिया तो ये it's a learning opportunity basically.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. True. Cool. So yeah, just Chinmay, just respond to
Yeah.
Vasudev to share more information or whatever it is. Actually, I didn't get a chance to look at the video, so I couldn't respond earlier. But yeah, good. Abhishek, you were saying something about Bhishma, right?
Yes, sir.
Tell me.
Actually, I asked from Shubham about the multiplayer
Hmm.
when I was not understanding how it
Mm-hmm.
works. So he told me that he took almost more than a month to make that multiplayer game.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Multiplayer makes everybody's head spin, right? After MVC, I think multiplayer is the second most complex thing in the entire program. So fundamentally, these two things are what uh, are not in line with how usually we are trained to think. So at least when we think about building, client, which is more straightforward. So it's kind of like the coroutine world all over again. Now you need to think about, wait, why is this function returning and coming back? So that kind of stuff. But now is it working for you?
Yeah, it's working.
Got it. Okay, cool. Just ask in case you need any help. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one more thing, just few days ago, I got a message, sponsored message from on LinkedIn.
Wait, you got a
From
message?
yeah, sponsored message. Uh,
Sponsored message.
like there is a company who help in to get a visa in London
Hmm.
for the job, employee visa or entrepreneur visa.
Mm-hmm.
So I got that message, and he sent me the benefits of a global talent visa. No
Okay.
investment, straight 3 to 5 years of visa, and no sponsorship
Ignore.
required, ILR settlement, and all that.
Ignore. One word, ignore. Ignore and focus on the projects and the assignments. Half of them is like, I don't know specifically this one, but half of them are a lot of like scams and whatnot. So for now, just ignore and focus because, like I shared the link today, there are ample, opportunities that you can directly tap in as well, provided you are able to showcase the skill sets that they need, right? So just focus on the interview preparation and the assignments and all that you're getting from the companies and all, right? So that alone will take up so much time that you don't need to worry about these for now at least. Cool. Okay. Anyone else? Anyone else
Sir,
getting any?
sir, may I?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Sir, I'm getting I also posted my question on the Discord, and you reacted that question one. So I was asking for the GitHub image uploading in the GitHub Redmi 5. So that was actually getting problem for me. I have had watched several videos for that and the YouTube, but actually what they are suggesting, I have also take a screenshot and share on this Discord, and that was not working for me.
So image is not loading.
Yeah, image two basically things I have tried at my side. First is HTML tags, and second is the absolute path to
But this is not
showing the.
absolute path, right? This is starting with github.com, right? I think, did you try putting in the full URL with HTTP, etc., etc.?
Actually, in the video only they are mentioning on the only that folder which the image is actually in
Did you make this
contains.
commit? Did you make this commit? I see you're editing the file and you're checking in the preview, right?
Yeah, I'm checking in the preview,
But did you make
and
the
they
commit?
are no. I'm not. Yeah, once I have committed that, but it's not working. It's
Did
not
you try
working as
any
well.
other image URL?
No, I have not
Okay,
tried.
so try another image URL, because right now you're loading an image from your assets, README,
Yeah.
etc. Right? Just these are the quick things. So when you're getting any kind of errors, right, you want to quickly unblock yourself so that you can move forward and not end up wasting time in some simple issue. So if I were you, I would just grab some Google Images image, not something from my GitHub, but just some random Google image and just throw in that URL and see if that works. So at least now I'm trying to narrow down where the problem is. Is it on my GitHub account? Is it it's not able to load any image? Is just the issue with the image SRC tag? Could be anything, right? So I'm basically trying
Mhm.
to narrow down where the problem is and then go about figuring out where should I look. Should I look into is image SRC the right thing, or should I try fix
Mhm.
this URL which is not loading correctly and it's working if I provide some other URL, right? So you need to think in that direction as to how can I narrow down where the scope of my problem is, so that I can reduce the time that it takes me to debug it, basically, right?
Yes.
So just try those things out, see if it works or not. Try a different image, try committing it, etc. But you said you already committed it, right? It didn't work that one.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So just
But
try
that
some other
another image. Yeah.
just try some
Let
other
me try.
publicly available image or something like that with a URL, right? So see that if that works, etc.
Sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
cool guys. So I think let's wrap up for today then.
Uh,
And
yeah, actually, I have one small doubt. Recently, I just deleted the 2019 version of Unity because it wasn't using it wasn't an LTS version.
Mhm.
So that I think caused some issues with the 2D and the 3D projects that I developed in the Outscale.
Why?
So I have no clue, but
What problem?
it was not launching basically. The 3D project was not launching specifically. I didn't
You'll
try the
probably have
2D.
to re-import the project, right? Just share some screenshot or something of what is happening when you're trying to opening that same project. But most likely it will ask you to just upgrade that project to the newer
Yeah,
version.
actually, the error it showed was that it wasn't able to import some things that resulted in some compilation errors. So
Right.
I
So typically, whenever you're changing the project versions, then Unity fucks up in upgrading, right? So just kill everything, kill Unity, go and delete the library temp and the OBJ folders, and
oh
then
okay
open the project again. So Unity will try to import the entire project again fresh. So
okay.
basically, in some sense, you're kind of deleting all Unity's cache, and that's where it will re-import the entire thing again, and it should hopefully work after that.
So library temp and obj folder.
Yeah. So all the basically all the temporary these are all the temporary folders that Unity create, and we ignore as part of GitHub check-in, right? These are part of the git ignore files as well. So you want to get rid of all those things and then reopen the project in the new version, basically. Sorry.
Okay.
Sir,
Cool.
the same problem I wanted to add one point here. So as Chinmay faced this problem because of maybe project setting because of the different version of Unity uses the different projects of setting. So is this the right way or a good practice that if we commit our project settings as well on the GitHub?
Project settings have to be committed on the GitHub. Project
Because
settings are
one
by default committed only.
Uh, actually, these are settings are selected for committing. But in my previous company, what they some experienced developer, they have experience around 10 to 11 years, and they are actually suggested me that don't actually submit all the settings, because if someone have the different version, then it's really getting a problem for that, for
So
them.
that's the problem, right? Like why are two people on the same project working with different versions? Ideally on
Sorry.
the ideally on one team working on one project, everybody should be working
Mhm.
on the same version, right?
Yeah, but still, in the worst case, maybe someone open the project and it will crash something.
Yeah, I mean, see, that's not following consistent team settings or project like team processes, right? You can't avoid that. But project settings has to be part of this as well. Because the thing is, like, think about this. If I today make the changes in quality settings or physics settings that needs to be applied to every project, every place, right? Now I have to
Mhm.
go and ask everybody to make the same changes and make the same changes, right? Doesn't make goddamn any sense,
Yeah,
right?
that's right.
So if today we are working on a physics-based game and we genuinely changed physics-related settings, now I have to either manually tell you that, hey, use this settings file and put it in your folder, or manually update your gravity value to this and vector value to this, or blah 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 to this, right?
Yeah, right.
So it doesn't make any sense. And the best part is because you have these settings, which are as stored as nothing but assets, right? They're files. Now you can have different settings for different branches. That's the best part. And those
Yeah.
are practical use cases that we have used in production projects,
Yes.
right? So in our
Mhm.
in our 8Ps project, we had a separate branch for iOS release. We had a separate branch for Android release, and these were using different settings. So
Mm.
whenever we merged our master project into iOS to create the APK, it was actually using some different graphic settings and different compression settings that we wanted to for iOS, sorry, for Android, and something different for iOS. So,
Yeah.
so that is actually a very realistic use case for settings to be different, right? And same way, if you go
So
to a console or something, you should have these settings in your project settings, in your Git as well.
sure.
Yeah, unless there is some really peculiar use case where multiple people need to work on different Unity versions.
Settings.
Yeah, I don't know why that would be, but unless there is some legitimate business use case for it, right? Um,
Mm.
maybe. So one use case that I can think of is that you're working on, say you're working on Cinemachine or something, right? Even that's
Yeah.
actually not a valid argument. You're working on Cinemachine or some part of Unity, which was actually correct in the older version, and the newer version added some bugs. And the rest of the team is
Mm.
not using Cinemachines, and the rest of the team is actually upgraded to the newer version, but you still are stuck on the older version because you have to still access the older piece of code, right? I mean, Cinemachine is probably not a best example because now it's available in packages and whatnot, and you can change
Yeah.
the package version. But you get my point, right? You need some
Yeah. Yeah.
component, and other team needs other component, things like that. If there is some legitimate use case like that, maybe I can think of. But in a more normal scenario, absolutely project settings need to be in there.
Yeah. The project was we were working on the some casino based project, and multiple developers actually around the globe were working on this project, and
Mhm.
they have different, I mean, technical art, and some other teams also working on the
Yeah,
same project.
yeah. So I open up Unity Hub. I have 6 versions of Unity. When somebody is working
Yeah.
in this project, use this version. That's where Unity Hub comes in, right? Use Unity Hub. I have multiple versions of Unity installed so that if one person is working on 4 different projects at the same time, which is also very common, just
Mm-hmm.
use the right version for the right project. What's the problem,
Yeah.
right? Then also
Right.
that also doesn't make sense. So anyways, I mean, it's usually a team thing, but from what I've seen, usually across the board, settings will go inside it itself unless there is
Mm.
some business use case for it specifically. But technically, it doesn't make sense.
It should go technically.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Cool, guys. So let's wrap up today then. Let me know in case there are any other questions in the chat. And yeah, let's try to move on the multiplayer project as and when you guys get time. I think We'll probably meet for 1 or 2 more sessions, and then we'll close the regular sessions because not seeing a lot of live attendance as well. Everybody's busy with their uh, coding assignments and all, right? So
Sir, but if we close that regular class, then how we complete that multiplayer section?
I think multiplayer, anyways, is not everybody's not really focusing on it right now because everybody's super occupied with this. So there's no point doing this. That's why I said, like, just ask directly in the chat and I'll answer all the questions there itself wherever anybody's getting stuck, right? There isn't anything specific to cover in the class. So there were 2 important topics: the not asynchronous, the deterministic, non-deterministic thing, and
Yes.
the flow of
Client and
information back
server.
and forth, right? Client to server, and
Mhm.
those things we discussed in 2 separate classes, right? So those were 2 main critical things that we had to cover in the class. So fundamentally, we've covered everything. Now it's just about going in and implementing. But because everybody's implementing on their different schedules, um, there's no point just, like today also there were not really any specific questions around multiplayer specific or any code review specific stuff, right? So we'll continue to do the code review behind the scenes. So you guys will get feedback on that. But I think we'll just meet for 2 more weeks and then we'll close off regular meetings because even now, last week also there was only one person. So it doesn't make sense to drag it on too much. And anyways, we are coming up on that 6 month limit as well. I think I was planning to finish up the project by mid of October, but since we are now meeting once a week, I think we'll do 2 more sessions, and then if anyways, I mean, we usually keep things flexible, right? So if anyone needs specific anything, I'm anyways around, so we can jump on a one-on-one call or something like that anyways. So that's not a problem. All right, I'll take that as cool.
Yeah.
All right, cool guys. All right, good night guys. See ya.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.